How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be replacing the engine oil pan and the oil pickup tube on the 350Z. We took it out to the racetrack, and long story short, it ended up breaking the tie rod, and then we had to jack the car up to get it into the pits. And when we did that, the car actually ended up falling on the oil pan, crushing it in. It's really not a big deal. It's a very easy fix. You just have to replace the oil pickup and the oil pan itself. So I'm going to be showing you guys how that is done. First thing you want to do is obviously raise the car up in the air and then start draining the engine oil, and try to drain as much out as possible because it will make a mess because the whole oil pan is going to be out of the car. And then this is my cool Greddy drain plug. It's magnetic, so it has it'll catch all the metal flakes or whatever that's in the engine, so it's very good to have. And then you can get your impact gun or ratchet with a socket, 10mm bolts. They all have to come out. And once that's out, you're going to have to probably get a screwdriver or some kind of pry tool and pry the oil pan off of the engine, because they are siliconed on there and sometimes they get stuck to the engine. And then this is the damages. As you can see, the oil pan is crushed in, obviously, and then also the oil pickup is bent upwards, and the actual pickup part itself has a bit of damage on it. There are two 12mm bolts that actually hold the oil pickup to the oil pump, so you're gonna have to remove those, and then once that's out, the oil pickup will just drop right out. And then we have to do a bit of cleanup. We have to get all the old silicone off of the upper oil pan, so that way we get a good seal, because we are going to be applying new sealant to it. So the best way I found to do that is just get a new razor blade and then just scrape away, and it literally just cuts all the silicone out of there. That's the easiest way I've found. And then you can just wipe everything down. If there's any left, you can get a wire brush and then clean the rest off. Okay, so next up we're going to be applying sealant to the oil pickup tube itself. And this is a very important part. It's very crucial because you are dealing with oil going into the oil pan and the rest of the engine here. So when you do apply silicone on this, it has to be a super, very, very light coat, almost to where you can't even see it. And I will show you guys how I do it. So I just apply some on there and then just press your finger against it and then spread it as thin as possible. Then once it's been spread out, you just get your finger and just try to take off all the excess silicone. You don't want anything left inside, because if there is and you start the engine up, it might get sucked into the oil pump and then get sent elsewhere in the engine, and that can cause issues. I've seen it myself. It can cause engines to start knocking. So this is a very important step. You can see how thin it's spread across there. And now we are actually going to mount it to the oil pump. So just get a rag and then wipe off all the excess oil. And as soon as you wipe off the excess oil, you're just going to want to grab the pickup and just stick it on there. You don't want any excess oil getting in between the oil pickup and the oil pump, because it won't really seal right. It gets in the way of the silicone. So you're going to have to kind of try to do this as fast as you can. And sorry, the camera angle isn't great. I'm just doing this by myself. And once it's on there, you can torque it to spec. I just tighten it by hand because I know what it's supposed to be. Okay, once you have the pickup on, then we can actually move on to the oil pan itself. Same situation with this. You can just get a razor blade and clean all the excess off. There's still a little bit left on there, but that's not too big of a deal because the silicone is going to seal it up. So the way I do it, I just put some silicone on my finger and then just spread it. And you don't have to be that crucial with this. You can put a good amount on there, as long as it's not really excessive to where it's, once you tighten it down, it'll actually squirt out of the side of the pan and might even end up in the oil itself. So you don't want to do that, but you can put a healthy amount on there. And then once that is done, I do this whenever I do a job like this that has to deal with oiling. I just take my finger and I wipe off all the excess silicone from inside the pan, so that way it won't be able to make its way into the oil. And then also doing that, it leaves kind of like a thicker bead for the oil pan to seal with. Okay, now that the oil pan has silicone on it, we're gonna come and clean the upper oil pan, and then we're gonna stick the lower oil pan onto it, and then just tack it on with 2 bolts. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna stick all the bolts in, and then just finger tighten it. And once all of them are finger tightened, we're gonna let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then come back and actually torque them to what they're supposed to be. Okay, so and then when I went to go put the Greddy drain plug back on, I started tightening it, and then this happened. So yeah, the drain plug completely snapped in half, and what I think happened was it was probably over torqued before, because I did get this engine used and it had it on there, so probably the previous owner had it over torqued a few times and then it caused it to break. But I used a little trick where you get a sharp needle or something and just spin the thread out, and I was able to get it out, and then this is what it looked like. So sucks because I really wanted to run that drain plug in there, but I'm gonna have to use a stock one for now. Might order one later, but okay guys, so this is actually the final step to putting the oil pan on. I've let it sit for about 10 minutes, and I've already gone ahead and tightened the 10mm bolts to what they should be. And now I'm actually gonna let the car sit overnight into the next day before we put any engine oil in. That will let, if any silicone did make it inside the oil pan, it'll let it dry up, so that way it doesn't get sucked up into the oil pump. So we're gonna do everything else on the next day. Okay guys, now it is the next day and I'm getting ready to put the oil in the car. So as you can see, I run a mixture of 20W50 and 0W20 for now. Usually when I go to the racetrack, I will just run straight 20W50, all 6 quarts of it. Yes, I have an oil cooler, so I take more oil. So I'm going to do a mixture of the two because I don't want the oil being too thick for street driving. So I'm going to put about 5 quarts in, and then top it off later with another quart. Okay, and then this is the final step of the whole thing. We're gonna prime the oil system. So what we do is we hold the clutch and the gas pedal down at the same time, and then we just crank it. That will kill the injector so it won't start. Okay, once that is done, you can just let off the gas pedal and then just start it normally. And when it does start, keep an eye on the oil pressure. And that is all good. So everything is good, and just go outside, check for no oil leaks or anything like that. And that is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will leave you guys with a cold start exhaust video.